Welcome to the tutorial on site design using ArcGIS Urban and CityEngine. This tutorial walks through an urban planning exercise to redevelop an area of Toronto. First, a plan and massing models that conform to zoning guidelines will be generated in ArcGIS Urban. These models will then be imported into CityEngine for enhanced visualization and design. Finally, the model will be published into a web scene for viewing within ArcGIS Urban or as a standalone scene for sharing with the public or other members of your organization. By completing this tutorial, you will become familiar with the following skills. You'll be able to generate massing models from parcels in ArcGIS Urban, we'll be completing a new zoning type in ArcGIS Urban, we'll be publishing and texturing models in CityEngine, and you'll also be publishing a CityEngine model to a web scene layer. This tutorial continues off of the Designing Urban Futures model, which you can find in the link below. However, if you have your own urban model, or if you want to use one of the included sample models in Urban, then that will work as well. The tutorial that follows is a fictional redevelopment of an area in Toronto. Currently, the area consists of low-rise retail and offices. Through this tutorial, you will create a densification scenario that adds mid-rise and high-rise residential, commercial, and office towers to an area that is undergoing urbanization. So let's get started. So what you are seeing here is the Yonge Street North Planning Study Urban Model, which is the model that would have been created at the end of the Designing Urban Futures tutorial. The existing city models are all being shown in white, while the proposed developments are being shown in various colors to represent their status of completion. For this tutorial, you're going to create a new zoning plan, and to do that I'm going to click on Add here, and then Zoning Plan. And I'll draw a boundary around the area where I want my zoning plan to be placed. So I'm going to draw it around this area, which is currently a low-rise shopping area. I'll double-click to finish, and I'll say Add Plan. I'm going to give my plan a name, and I'll call it North York Densification. And if you wanted to, you can give it an address or description and even include a thumbnail image to include some more information or renderings of what is proposed in this area. And I'm also going to choose a plan design context layer. The plan design context layer is called North York Site Design Scene, and this is a public layer that you can search for as well. And I'm just going to click on it and add it. And what this is a schematic plan of proposed massings on the site. So it takes a few seconds for the plan to be created in Urban. So once the plan has been created, on the left-hand side here we can see that North York densification has been created, and I'm going to now open the plan. So the first thing that we'll see when we open the plan is that new context layer that I've added appearing below. And I'm just going to turn that off for now because we don't need it at this point. But what we can see right here now are the existing parcels that are outlined in black, as well as the zoning that is lying underneath. So we can see very clearly here that this is a low-rise shopping mall, and there's a lot of parking in the area as well. There's also some townhouses and residential homes to the south, and some residential towers to the west, and some low-rise shopping to the east. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the parcel where it says leave unchanged, and I'm going to modify that and say that I'm going to demolish this area. I'm now going to go into the zoning layer, and I'm going to modify the zoning to create a new area that will allow for increased densification in this area. So the area that's selected right now where the low-rise retail mall was located was designated as commercial. So I'm going to click on Modify here, and I'll click to create a new zoning type. The new zoning type will be called NY Mix for North York Mix. And I'll give it a description as well, and I'm going to call that North York Mixed Use. I can choose a color. In this case I'll just choose a random color to make it look a little bit nicer. And I can fill in all of these parameters here. So I'll give a maximum coverage in this case of 100%, and this can always be changed. I'll give a maximum FAR of 10 because we really want to show some densification in this area. 150 meter height, And I'll leave the other areas blank for now, but I am going to add another tier. So the building tier means that at a certain height, the building is going to change shape. And so in this case, I'm going to give a building start height of 20 meters, and after the 20-meter height, I'm going to add some setbacks. If I wanted to restrict the type of space that can be developed here, I can do so as well by choosing those from the drop-down here. But in this case, again, I'm going to choose no restrictions. So actually, I'll give the maximum number of floors here as 30 floors, and that will be the maximum number that we'll develop in this entire plan. Now I can click on the North York mix to redesignate this zoning area as my new zone that I've just created. And I'll go back to the development tab now so that I can start to redevelop the area and modify the parcels. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do now is to split this parcel. As you can see, the area is one very large parcel right now, which included the shopping mall and the parking lots. And so I want to split that now into the proposed site plan of the massings that were brought in here in the plan design context layer. So when I turn this on, I get the underlying map here of what the proposed breakdown is on the parcels. And I'm now going to split my parcel layer to fit within these new parcels that are proposed in this map. So to do that, I'm going to click on Add, and then I'll click on Split. And I'm now just going to start to split the parcel by drawing outside of the parcel layer, cutting through it. I'll double click to finish that line, and then I'll say Split. So I'm going to repeat that over and over again to continue with the split. Now that I've split the parcels, I can do a little bit more cleaning up by actually merging some of the little parcel fragments together just so that we don't have tiny spaces. So I'll do that by selecting some of the fragments here. And then here I'm going to choose Merge. So now that I've completed splitting up my parcels, I can start to develop on them. So the first thing that I'll do is select one of the parcels here, and I'll choose that I want to modify this, and I'm going to make this one a mid-rise retail with residential. So I want the number of floors to be 15, and I'll give it a maximum height of 100 meters, even though this doesn't actually mean that we're going to have it at 100 meters. It's just helpful for us to be able to have an extrusion of a certain height. I'm going to repeat that across the rest of the plan here. I can actually select multiple buildings as well. Inside here, I'll make high-rise residentials. You can see that the footprint of the building takes up the entire parcel here, so I can change the coverage and I can actually make it less, so I'm going to make it 50%. And I'll continue setting developments based off of the parcels for the entire area. So now that I've completed my developments, I can actually look at the capacity indicators to see exactly how much has changed in this area. So these capacity indicators are built into the space use types that have been pre-programmed into the building types that I've developed here, and they can be customized as well, and that was mentioned in the Designing Urban Futures tutorial. So if I look at the study area, I can see now that the population has now increased to 9,376 people. There are an additional 5,000 households, just over 4,000 jobs created, and 26,000 potential parking spots that can be created. As well, there are a bunch of different energy metrics that you can now gain access to in ArcGIS Urban here, and you can learn more about that in the urban documentation to see how those have been calculated. Finally, if we look underground, we can see some of the parking that has been proposed. Something else that's useful to see here is a line of sight that we can visualize. And so in this area here, if you look at the proposed plan, we can see that this is going to be proposed as open space or as a park. So I can create view lines here to see if the top floors of buildings or if any areas of buildings have views of this park that's going to be proposed. So to do that, I will click on the analysis tool here, and I can click on line of sight, and I'll click on the top of the building here, and I can click to see exactly where view from this part of the building is able to see parts of the park. So wherever there's a red line here means that it's an obstructed view, and wherever there's a green line means that the park is visible by that part of the building. So the next thing that I want to do now is bring this into CityEngine for more advanced visualization. So to do that, we're going to close this, and we'll switch into CityEngine. I'm going to choose to start with a blank scene, and I'll press cancel right now for this, because what I want to do is I need to first log into my account, and once I'm logged in, I can go into the ArcGIS Urban area of the navigator, and I can see all of the proposed plans and projects that I've created in my ArcGIS Urban scene. So the first one that we've been working on here is North York densification. So if I click on that and I right click on it and say import as new scene, it will bring that into my CityEngine view, and I'll just say continue here just to say that a static copy is going to be created in CityEngine. So now if I zoom into this area of our plan that we've proposed here, you can see that this is the existing condition scenario. You can see on the left hand side here where existing is selected, and if I click on scenario 1, I'll be able to see the massings that I've proposed in this area. So now we have the ability of visualizing this with additional textures. So the first thing that I'm going to do is turn off a few layers just to clean this up a little bit for now. I'm going to turn on the existing 3D buildings. And the existing 3D buildings, I can just apply a very basic rule set to that one. We'll do a building mass texturizer and apply it to all of the buildings here. And I don't actually want these to be textured, so I'm going to choose the representation here instead of realistic with facade textures to just be solid color. And I'll choose an off-white color. I'll lock that layer to show that I'm completed with that one. And now I'm going to turn on my parcels layer. And I'm actually going to create a duplicate copy of this. So I'm just going to say copy and then paste. I'll lock the original parcels layer so that I don't accidentally alter that in case I need to go back. And I'll work off of this pasted parcels layer now. So if I select all of my buildings here, what I need to do is to convert them into static models. And what this is going to do is remove the ArcGIS Urban parameters from the model, which doesn't sound like it's a great idea, but what it allows us to do is it allows us to add more complex textures and forms to the building. So I've selected all of the buildings here, and I'm going to choose shapes, convert models to shapes. And now if I select these buildings, I can apply the building mass texturizer rule, which is built into Esri.lib. It comes built into CityEngine, and I'm just going to drag and drop, just like I did with the existing building footprints, onto this proposed building, and we'll see a building texture appear. I can change the style if I want, so the usage of the building, for example, I can say instead of it being random, I can choose that I want it to be an office building. And I can apply that to all of my buildings now by selecting them, choosing building mass texturizer. Again, I'm going to choose what the type of building is. In this case, I'll choose office. Finally, there were some areas that required parks planning, so I'm going to select those areas. And again, in Esri.lib, I can expand the plant folder here and choose to load the plant distributor. And this will place some trees in the area that I want to create open space. I'll change the density here because it's a little bit high. So now that I've completed the visualization part in CityEngine, I can actually send this back into ArcGIS Urban if I wanted to, or I can publish it as a scene layer. So let's do both. So to publish this back into ArcGIS Urban, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Select, Select All, and then I'll click on ArcGIS Urban, and I'm going to say Publish Selected Models to an ArcGIS Urban Scene Layer. So now when I switch back into ArcGIS Urban, we should see this published scene appear in the model. So there you go. So now we have the existing development of what's there right now, as well as the proposed scenario that has been textured with some of the trees. And if we open up the plan as well, we can see the buildings based off of space use types and zoning. So the last thing to demonstrate here is how we can publish this to a web scene. So what we can do is similar to what we did with ArcGIS Urban, is we will select all of the buildings here that we want to publish. I'll go to File, Export Models, and I'll save this as an Esri scene layer package. Once the export is complete, I can go into my project folder here, and if I go to Models, I'll see my North York densification scene layer package. I'll right click on this and I'll say Share As, and then I'm going to now upload this to my ArcGIS Online account. So I'll just analyze this first. It says the scene package is okay, and then I'll share it. So my publishing was successful here. So now if I go into my ArcGIS Online account, and I go to my content, I'll see I now have a scene layer package that, as well as a hosted scene layer. That's my North York densification model. And I can open this in my scene viewer. And I now have a completed model that's sitting within a scene viewer that I can now add additional context layers to and share this with other people in my organization or to the public. This concludes the site design using ArcGIS Urban and CityEngine tutorial. For more tutorials and resources, check out Esri Canada's Higher Education Resource Finder, where you can find additional resources and tutorials relating to 3D modeling, urban planning, CityEngine, ArcGIS Pro, ArcGIS Online, and a variety of other topics that might be of interest to you.